Welcome to the Rockstar Creativity Podcast. My name's Scott Snow, and I'm a life coach. My mission is to teach you how to unleash your creativity so you can start getting the best ideas of your life. I believe that most people have lost the creativity and sense of wonder and play they had as children. My company offers trainings and coaching that will help you tap into that limitless creativity. Once you tap into it, you'll start seeing new opportunities in every area of your life. Make sure to download your free guidebook from the website, rockstarcreativity.com, and it will give you a fresh mindset and new vision for your life. You're meant to do great things. Let's start. Marcie Brown is our guest today. She has been a professional cellist for over 30 years. She has shared the stage with lots of amazing groups and musicians. She was in Cirque Du Soleil, the O show, for several years, singing and playing the cello on stage beneath two Russian twin trapeze artists while walking in front of a swimming pool. She has played Brazilian, Trinidadian, Jamaican, Irish, and African music extensively in bands. She has performed with symphonies all across the United States, and she has performed on the streets of New York City. As a reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic, she has decided to offer free instructional and performance videos. If you are a cellist that's looking for inspiration, the Cello Guru can help. Visit thecelloguru.com for information about Marcie and her work. Marcie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. Fun to be here.
Now, our listeners are entrepreneurs and life coaches, a kind of a range of creative people. So I'm sure they would like to get to know you a little bit better. So what are some of the different hats that you wear, the different roles that you play?
Well, I am a cello mentor and life coach for cellists around the world. So I have students from many different countries, which is super fun for me. I am a mom to my 21-year-old cello playing amazing daughter who goes to Oberlin College and who is now better than me in cello in some ways, not in other ways.
Yep.
I am a writer, a poet, a musician, a dreamer. I'm a cello performer. I am a dog walker. I am an example of what's possible for musicians over 50, which is one of the things that's really important to me. And I'm a thought leader. And I think I am helping musicians and creatives to start to earn the money that they deserve, as opposed to the certain amount of dollars per hour model. So in that way, I think I'm an example.
Great. We'd love to hear your story. And so could you take us from, being a cello student early on and then your journey to through college and performance and Cirque du Soleil and how transformative that experience seemed to be for your whole life, and then up to how you're a successful life coach now in the Cello Guru.
Yeah, well,
How much time you got?
that's a lot. Well, I was a student, and I knew someone named Scott Snow at the University of Massachusetts. But before that, I went to the Manhattan School of Music, and studied with Nathaniel Rosen, who was a Tchaikovsky competition winner, which is one of our biggest awards. And I studied with him right after he won that competition, which was an amazing time. And he was kind of an example of what we all wanted to be at the Manhattan School of Music, just touring around the world and performing. And it was fun and it was exciting, but at the same time, for me, I wasn't as good as him. And I wanted to find a way to really excel where my fortes would really come out. So for me, I looked on the streets in New York City where people seemed to be doing really creative playing. Because in my classical studies, I was just kind of imitating, which is great. And it was fun. And I love classical music as much as any classical musician. But I wanted to be creative. And I think that in classical music, there might be, there's a little area to be creative. Like I think my daughter, she really hits that area, but I think it's just like 10 to 15% of your playing is your own creative ideas, and all the rest sounds like everybody else, or you hope it sounds like your idols, right? That's what you're trying to do, right? But in improvisation, you're allowed to be creative. You're allowed to come up with your own ideas. And in fact, when you hang out with improvising people and creative people, that's what they want. They want to hear the part of you that's different. That's
Right.
what they want. That's what they're interested in, right? So the jazz guys I hung out with never like tried to mold me into something. They wanted to see what direction I was going in. They wanted to bring that out. I was like, what? It was very,
Mm.
very interesting. So I studied with a lot of different groups, ethnic groups and people on the streets of New York City and jazz improvisers. And that really helped me with my cello technique. And then, I went through all kinds of gigs, symphony gigs and performing gigs, and played on the streets a lot in New York City. So I was very scrappy. I was in a doo-wop group
Mm.
singing. Um, went to UMass with you, Scott, went to Yusef's program, Yuself Lateef, and he was very interesting and creative too. He was amazing. And he was very, very supportive of the improvisation that I was doing. In fact, he was one of my first real improv teachers. And I did a couple of CDs with Yusef. One was called Sweet Life, Suite, and that was interesting. He'd do things like turn the paper upside down and say, play it this way.
Yeah, we both study with Yuself Lateef, well, Dr. Lateef, and he's passed on now, but he was one of my favorite professors for sure of my whole life. And what was it about Dr. Lateef that really helped you out or was transformational for you at that time?
I just think he was so creative in his approach. I think he loved my voice to start off with, and he just really encouraged me to open up on that voice while teaching me, um, some of the tools of learning to study improvisation. But
Mm.
he was very open in his like he was so interested in everything. I think that was
Yeah.
what was really fun. I mean, because he was such a famous, like an icon, and yet he was just open to like talking to someone on the bus about, what they thought about the scientific method of that he heard them talking about, or I don't know, he just was so inclusive of everyone. It
And
was really, really
he was also very interesting to me that he didn't have any judgment of where your potential could be. Like if I said, "Oh, I'd like to, write a composition for a full orchestra," he'd be like, "Okay, well, here's let me get some staff paper." Like whereas everybody else would be like, "Oh, no, 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 that's way far, beyond what you're doing now. We're going to start with a little piano solo." He was like, I remember one weekend he came in on that Monday. I had asked him about publishing, how do you publish a composition? And he typed out himself a whole list of, big New York City publishing, contacts and companies, which I certainly was not ready for all of that. But he took all the time and he just gave it to me. Here are some, people that you can contact. Here's the guy, who does the Cosby Show and NBC, and this guy does this orchestra. So that was had a big effect on me.
yeah. Well, Yusuf was amazing. I also think he was very humble,
Yeah.
and he, like I remember sitting on a bench with him in Verona, Italy, because we were playing a show that was he and Adam Rudolph, the percussionist, the LA percussionist,
Yeah.
and it was The World at Peace. I think that's what we were playing in Verona. And anyway, I remember we were both eating granola bars. I don't know who gave the other person the granola bar, but we were sitting backstage, and I said, Yusuf, this music is so amazing. It's very complex, and I just sometimes I don't know what we're doing here. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, neither do I. But he composed it, that's why it
Yeah.
was just so funny. He was such a great guy.
But I was
But so you,
surprised. I remember being surprised about him that he would really practice like how to get from one chord to another. Like there was a lot more of the practice that system, of however he connected this point to that point with his instrument. That was a lot of practice and woodshedding to be able to do that, so that in
Yeah.
the moment then you can be creative.
Yeah. I do remember coming into one of those shows and him saying, well, said, how are you doing? What's going on? He said, well, last night I did a harmonic minor. And I go, what did you do? And he goes, I did everything possible to mankind that one could do in a harmonic minor. And he goes, I figured it can't hurt, because he had a solo in the show, right?
Yeah.
And man, when he took the solo, I mean, it was mesmerizing, and
Yeah.
he was kind of big, and he would take up the entire stage with his presence, kind of, and you didn't have to. At that time, for me, I was very conscientious about taking up too much time in my solo. I thought, it would be boring and dumb and all that,
Mm.
Yuself did not have any of that, man. He would say, and you did not worry, like as a listener, you didn't worry about, um, you just were calm. Like you just sat calm as he took up as much time of yours as he wanted to. You were all in with that, you know what I mean? He just
Yeah.
was very calming presence.
Yeah.
So anyway, Yuself was a great influence on me, and then I played in different symphonies, just pick up stuff and just trying to figure out where to fit in, composing stuff, in New York City. And, I can't always remember the order of everything, but I do remember coming to the Bay Area. I studied in the Ali Akbar Khan School of Classical Indian Music. That was fun, drinking scotch with Ali Akbar Khan. That was one of the things that I loved doing, and I learned a lot from him. But then uh, there was an audition for the Cirque du Soleil, and upon urging of a friend, I took that audition. So I played over 600 shows with the Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Um, yeah, that was one show, over 600 shows. I learned a lot from that. That was fun. That was interesting. I met a lot of people. I try to keep my chops up by playing in the morning, which is not easy when you have 2 shows a night, 10 shows a week. But I did by playing Bach, which is always a great thing to keep your chops up, right?
Mm.
Um, and then I had my daughter. So I did that for 20 years. We moved back to the Bay Area. And some of the time in that I was trying to figure out how to be relevant. Because there comes a time in life where you kind of feel like, okay, did I do it all?
Yeah.
Like, was that like, can I not do anything more? Because it seems like the professional people are all younger, maybe, or you can't get a teaching job because you're over the limit, or they want someone younger that's going to be cheaper, or so there was a time when it was thoughts like that, and I was taking care of my daughter. That was great. um but then I joined the life coach school, um and they didn't allow any kinds of excuses for anything, as life coaches don't, right? It
Right.
was like the age mode was like squashed out in the first day. It's like,
Yeah. Right.
no, a million people, that it doesn't matter what your age is. It has no, you got to go out and do what you want to do, figure out what it is, make it up, develop it, create it, get on it. I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And I did. I built the Cello Guru. um I just decided I was a cello guru because I was talking to my brother. He's a bass player, and I was like, I think I can be a cello guru. Like he's like, yeah, why not? You spent your whole life. Like, why are you questioning it? You spent like so much of your life figuring out music, how to be creative, how to play the cello, of course, so he helped encourage me. Two brothers actually did that. And then I just decided I was going to be that, started throwing that out, and studying online business and online courses. And I developed, with much mind work help, because of course always the thought comes back that you can't do it, you're not good enough, no one's going to want what you have to offer, etc. All those thoughts. So there was a lot of thought work for me. every
And,
day.
and what's your website?
The website is thecelloguru.com. It's THE, thecelloguru.com. Um, and I have an online mentorship for cellists. That's a 6-month program, and it has an online component where people can do a video a day. They go in and they pick out the videos that relate to them. There's a lot of instructional videos in there. There's like over, I have no idea how many there are,
Yeah.
200, 500 probably in there,
Wow. For
Yeah.
our entrepreneurs and marketing people, can you walk us through what are some of the programs that you offer, the whether it be coaching packages or mentorship, from the smaller to the larger, and how you get those people into the mix, into your circle?
Well, at first I was doing, you know, being creative. At first I was doing like monthly topics, and people would join, let's say, a Celtic class that would run 4 classes once per week on Mondays in June or something. And that I would charge maybe, uh I don't remember now, but like maybe I really don't remember. I want to say like $149 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that. And people came in and played. And so I would teach them some improv skills, and then I would coach them on their playing. So that was kind of fun and interesting. Um, and I do things like Celtic music. I do an autumn leaves class, maybe I do 8 classes. Meanwhile, I'd also do like Bach suite classes, and I have interesting titles too, like, okay, minor mode class, we're going to do minor mode this month, right?
Hmm.
Bring in your piece if it's in the minor mode, and we're going to work on that. So I don't know, I got different amounts of people. I think probably the most people I got was like 25 people in one of those, which was a music theory on the cello class, because that's one of the things that I teach always, because I teach improv, and music theory. You got to know it on the cello, and nobody I mean, most people don't unless you've done it. So that
So
was
these,
just kind of
I'm sorry. So these are all people that are already play cello, or do you have any beginners? Are they older, than 30?
my target market was always over 50. Doesn't mean I haven't had people younger, but like people, I guess, attract like people. So also a big mindset point of mine was that you got to work on it now. Doesn't matter what your age is. Let's go, right? That was a
Yeah.
big thing that drew people in. And so I just kind of did that for a while. And then I started building a Facebook group um, called Cello Nation. Started off with just me and a couple people. There's probably 2,500 people in there now.
Wow.
And that was an interesting thing because I kind of just let that develop before. But now lately, I've been checking in with everybody who comes in and just talking to them and seeing who's in there, seeing what they're up to. It's very, very fun and interesting and gratifying for me to connect with cellists around the world. I think at first I was thinking about business all the time and just trying to do business things, I guess, and they weren't that fun. But now I kind of realize the connection is the most important business thing, really, that you can
Interesting.
do, because it's talking to people. And when they know, like, and trust you, they will want to work with you.
Yeah. Great
But
point.
if you don't talk to them and you're just sending out like business emails all the time and stuff, that doesn't necessarily touch people, like connecting. So anyway, I do a lot of connecting on that Facebook group right now, with people all over the world. And then, so that's part of like my funnel that brings people in. Um, and then I offer right now kind of a glimpse into my 6-month program. So the glimpse is a 3-month program so that people can really see and they don't have to make the big commitment of
Yep.
the 6-month program. But mostly my students stay with me, and they're doing the year-long program now. So it's morphed into a year-long program, so that my basic one is 6 total cello immersion, and it started off giving a private lesson and a group lesson per week, but now it has morphed into a group lesson per week, and you get the online course, which is all the videos on mindset and on improv and on classical playing, all super important. You get all of
Yeah.
those in the course, and then it's one class per week, and we have like concerts that we do to check in with everybody, and there's a private Facebook group, all the online things,
Yeah.
that we do.
I was curious about how you did the mindset part, or like the traditional life coaching, back and forth of a life coach. How do
Well,
you address the mindset? And what do you think is lacking in a lot of your prospective clients? What do they need in terms of mindset?
oh man, that people are so geared towards negative,
Hmm.
and especially in the classical music world. Eh, well, because we're always taught what's wrong.
Yeah,
That's
you
how
made a
we get better.
mistake there. Yeah.
Right. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Always. We're never taught what's right.
Yep.
Like to equalize that, right? To think about that. To think about that first. Let's think about what's right first. We always think we're not going to get better if we keep thinking about what's right. And that's just such a thought error. Um, so I think people come in to my world with unbelievably negative attitudes, first of all. And they think that that's just being realistic, right? They think they can't play. They think they're no good. They think there's only room for the top 10 cellists in the world. I don't know why people think this. They think that their voice is not important if
Hmm.
it doesn't sound like the top 10 cellists in the world. I have to say, I remember I was going to, Yuself asked for cello lessons, Yuself Lateef,
Hmm.
the teacher that Scott and I shared. And I said, sure. And it took him a while to get a cello. He finally got a cello that he was getting from his sister or something in New York. And it was like, it ended up being like a half size cello or something. And, he was such a big guy. But he said, I remember saying to him, okay, well, normally when we study cello, we start with the scales and the arpeggios, and we do kind of a method through the books, book one, book two, book three, whatever that is. Um, and so would you like to do that? And he just said, and I just thought it was a no-brainer. That's what we all do, right? But he
Yep.
was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. And I said, well, do you want to know like how to hold the cello? And he said, no, I don't think I want to know. It just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I brought that up right now. I even forgot.
Well, what did he want?
He just wanted to make sounds on the cello. I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't end up teaching. The cello was too small. What did he want? That's a good question,
Yeah.
Scott. Wanted to
Yeah.
be creative. That's Yusef, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I remember, I think probably my best improvisation lesson ever was with Yusuf. And I was playing jazz vibes, and I had just started doing that. And he was doing a little bit of comping, but I would play something, and then he would, no, he wasn't comping at this point. I was just playing. And then he just closed his eyes, and I was playing a little kind of blues thing. And he just kept going, mm hmm, yep, uh-huh, yeah, mm. And by hearing him do that, it just made me do more of that, because I wanted to hear him, make more sounds. And that was such a great method. I thought, that's the opposite of saying, well, you're, that scale was wrong, and you've got bad technique on that little fill. It
It's
was
the opposite.
literally leading you to what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah. I remember in Amherst attending a movie. I think the movie was about, I'm not sure, but I think it was about Ornette Coleman, the jazz saxophonist. And I was in that showing of that movie, sitting next sitting with Yuself Lateef on one side of me, Archie Shepp on the other side of me.
Wow.
And I heard this through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Coleman
Right.
was playing, right?
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah. What are some of the self-development benefits to playing an instrument?
Oh, self-development. Wow. Well, that is a great question. I think playing an instrument can be really, really helpful to you to develop your brain, first of all. I have a lot of these. As we get older, we want to use our brain. We want to shoot the pistons in our brain, right? I don't know anything more interesting and intriguing and complex than improvisation, figuring out the tools behind the music, you know. Um, and when you work your brain, of course, you get smarter, but also you get sharper and you get stronger and you get healthier because you're sharper and you're using your brain, right? And so
Yeah.
that makes you happier in all ways, right? So I think that's the biggest self improvement. But I mean, studying music, it makes you find a goal and go after it. And it's intriguing and it's exciting and it's interesting and it allows you to find goals for like your whole life because the study is endless, right? So I think that it brings you integrity in your life. It brings you
Mm,
relevance. It brings you community because you're playing with other people, you're studying with other people. You know, it keeps you alive, I think,
mm.
and creative.
Yeah. Interesting. So, Marcie, how do you hold your clients accountable?
Well, I do check in with my clients. I have them check in with me. And we have a class once per week. And so going over materials with them is super, super important. I have noticed that the more advanced students don't do the work
Hmm.
because they're studying more improvisation. So they're going in different directions, but still they need to do the classical work, right? So the scales and arpeggios is what I'm basically talking about for their
Yeah.
study. Um, but also, I have something called a 30-day cello practice planner, which I try to get everybody to use. And it's really just checking in with your goals, your 5 year goals, which blows everybody's mind at first, your 5 year goals, your 12-month goals, and your weekly goals, and then your daily goals. And you kind of work backwards from your 5 year goals to figure out what your daily goals are. And
Hmm.
then they're supposed to post them on the Facebook group, but most of them don't. So I do, and my student in Australia does. Most of them don't. So it's a continual work getting people to stay accountable. But I think that continuing to make my program exciting and interesting by bringing in different guest speakers is really helpful too, because it makes everybody go off and do their thing when they see another person's point of view as well, you know?
So once they register for the program or the mentorship or whatever it is, then they get access to all the videos and all the materials.
Right.
So what type of website do you like? How do you do that online? Like that's just not a regular
The
website. Is that a membership website? And we have 10 minutes left, just so.
yeah, it's okay. The website that I have is called Thinkific. I don't
Okay,
know anything about it. It's just free. And my whole program is on it.
nice.
You can put as much on it as you want, I think, because I've put so much on it. So they just check in there. Um, some of them do it every day. Some of them don't use it as much. You know, everybody's different, but that's a free tool online.
So is that open to the general public? Is there like a Thinkific website and your cello course is on there, or is that something you direct them to?
Um, my cello course is not open to the general public. They
Okay.
have to have a password and they have to sign into it.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. We'll have to check out the Thinkific.
There's some different ones, of course,
Yep.
but that's just the one I happen to use.
And I know for you to get people in your funnel, you have the they give you their email, and then you give them the 30-day cello practice pack, which seem to
Yeah.
have an awful lot of videos and resources. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, um, no, there's a couple different things. I mean, there's different lead magnets to get people interested. One is, I don't remember the names of stuff always. I mean, the 30-day practice planner pack, yeah, you're right. It has some videos in it and things like that, just so that, just to bring people into my world. I
Yeah.
think that what they want, I mean, who doesn't want a planner who wants to get stuff done, right? So the planner is kind of a hook, although I believe in it, I use it, I think it's amazing, right? But then there were some videos in there of the different aspects of what I teach. So one is the classical perfectionist, and one is the cello adventurer, which is the ethnic music and jazz and stuff like that. And one is the intentional thinker, which is the thought, mind work. And so I have some videos on each of those that they can listen to just for them to start coming into my world in that 30-day planner pack. But there's
In
a
your
few different.
workbook, that would be a PDF, the workbook.
It's a PDF. There's no workbook. It's a planner.
Oh, physical planner that you
Yeah.
mail out.
And it's a PDF. No, it's a PDF. You're right, Scott. But
Oh,
it's the 30-day planner.
okay. All right.
It's not really a workbook.
I do have a marketing question. I know that to get to connect with people that have, let's say cello players, you want to be online, where people that play cello hang out and where they go. But also you don't want to be pushy and say, "Hey, here's Cello Guru, here's the link." That's a turnoff. But I always found it difficult to negotiate that. Like on one hand, you want to go to a place and contribute and be helpful, part of the community, but then that seemed to like be a disconnect with some of the training that I got from marketing. It's like just do that and be very giving, and then people will contact you. But that didn't seem to happen as much as I thought it would. So
I think,
how do you do that?
yeah, I think that's a really good, like, weird spot. I agree with you. I think it's a weird spot. But I think that the answer to that may be within our self concept, because you know how Scott and I both have a business coach, Stacy Bayman. You know how Stacy, she will throw out her offers over and over and over and over and over and over, right?
Right.
And you don't feel like she's pushing anything on you.
Yeah.
That's because you know that she 100% believes in what she's wanting you to do in
Yeah.
order to get you, she knows you want to go. So I believe that throwing out your stuff to people, if you think of it as a salesy thing, then it's going to come off as a salesy thing. But
Yeah.
once you start to get deep, deep, deep belief in what you do and how it changes people, then it's no longer a salesy thing.
Yeah.
Then it starts to be a valuable thing that people can access from you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it changes the way you talk about it and the way you think about it, and it's something valuable that you have for the world instead
Mm.
of trying to put it on people. You know what I mean?
In a way, it seems like you have to detach from your
Right.
connection with it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And be unattached. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
really good way of saying it. Yeah.
I think I remember one example she gave where it was some kind of a bracelet or some kind of a gadget that she came across that she really liked, and she was just raving about it and talking about it and how helpful and how much she liked it, and of having that kind of energy with talking about an offer, the same way. You're not hoping she's not hoping to sell any of those bracelets or whatever it
Right.
is, but she's just sharing like this is a great thing, and with that
Right. I
spirit.
know. Yes, and it seems difficult because you really want to sell your product.
Yes. Right.
But if you know that the fastest way to do that is to really believe in it so much that that's going to be contagious, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make people believe in it when you don't 100% believe in it yet.
It's funny how people can pick up on that energy.
Yeah, well, I think you're better served if you put your energy into making your product this great product, you
Hmm.
know, rather than trying to sell it, right?
Is that
Because
clean selling?
that's clean selling. That will sell it yourself. I mean, itself, right?
Yeah.
If you're 100% in to what you're building for people and making it really, 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 really valuable. That being excited about that and not just not selling it will
It's
sell it, which is
yeah.
weird, right?
I found that that's been one of the most challenging things about being an entrepreneur is being yourself, which sounds ridiculous.
Right? Yeah, you have to be all in on yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It is. You want to change into all these different things that you think will sell
Yeah.
when really being genuine is what's going to sell.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great honor and a joy to talk with you. And I noticed your name on the Stacy Bayman website, and I was like, wait, that can't be the Marcie that I remember. And it
It
was, and we
is.
reached out, and it's been great to reconnect.
I'm so glad, Scott, and this has been really fun talking to you. It always helps me when someone asks me questions and I'm like, wait, what is the answer to that? It's always very helpful.
And where
It's
can
been nice.
people go if they want to find out more info on what you do? Where do they go?
Okay, so Cello Nation is my Facebook group. You can just join that. Um, and my website is thecelloguru.com.
Love it. Marcie, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Scott. I will see you in another 35 years
All right.
or sooner.